Hello, and welcome to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound, a perception of sight, with a dimension of mind. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. I got the usual suspects with me. He is Iron Man.
Iron Man? I got promoted.
You did this to yourself.
And we have the master of the Segway, K-Max.
There's been quite a perception of sound already.
That was Neil Goldman, my Neil Goldman impression from Family Guy, for any fans.
It was excellent.
Yeah, it sounded good.
Pull the microphone away from my face.
It sounded good on the mic. I only ever do it for myself, so.
That's all we do any of this for. For ourselves.
Just to hear my voice. Today is brought to you by the phrase ethical questions. The topic might need a little bit of framing, I guess. So when I say ethical questions, I don't necessarily mean that we're going to be answering tough questions today, but rather we're going to look at how movies ask these questions.
And shame on anybody for expecting that, by the way.
We've answered plenty of tough questions already.
We're just normal men.
This might not be something that we're used to observing from a movie, or even something that we want. But with a platform as big as film, of course, somebody is going to try and use that to try and make a difference, or at least inspire conversation to the topic that they're addressing. So before I go on, I wanted to gauge your guys' thoughts as to what ethical questions mean to you guys. Like, how do you define an ethical question?
I think I'd look at it like when you maybe the line of morality is blurred a bit. Is the film forcing you to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and you say, "Ooh," maybe make you feel a certain way. And when you think about ethics, you think of someone's like ideals. Like I do. I think is this film making me question my own ideals? Is it pushing the boundaries of what I think is fundamentally right or fundamentally wrong? It's like am I causing the audience to question their ideas or blur the lines of what's right and wrong? I think that's if something is ethical, it's obviously the right thing to do. It's got truthiness to it. If I could use a Colbert report, I think that's it. I think the simple line was right from the beginning. Is like it makes you blur the line of right and wrong if it's ethical or not. And that's the way I look at it.
With supporting your view on it, it would kind of be giving depth to morality. Then
I think so.
Not just that's right, this is wrong, but well, how is it right? How is this wrong? Could this be right?
Yeah. The Jim Morrison line. I like the way I said it better. No, I don't. Actually, I like the way you said it better. But that's making sense of my gibberish, man. I'm going live without a net here. If I could give a Van Halen live album, I'm going live without a net here. I'm not looking at any notes because I feel like there's enough here for me to go on. It's gonna be a big mistake, but let's let it ride. Let's try it out. I'm also leaning in on a table like I never have.
Yeah, you're right up on here.
I'm usually back in the Hobbit hole. I'm ready to come out.
To quote one of Iron Man's favorite movies, big mistake. Huge.
Okay, I'm back.
Huge.
I'm a pin it.
Iron Man, what does the ethical question mean to you?
Yeah, ditto. I don't know how to put it into words other than pointing at the movies that I picked.
Okay.
Because some of the movies I picked, I feel like put people in a very what's right, what's wrong, what's justified, what isn't, what you should do, what you can kind of get away with before you cross that line into what is now it's wrong.
I like what you said with what you should do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I find myself, even on this pod, responding sometimes, and I try to fight it, responding about what should I say? What do people expect me to say? And I've tried really hard to be a little more unfiltered to say, I'm going to say this, and I'm like, afterwards I'm like, yikes. You know what I mean? So I like when you said that, though, like what decisions should the character make?
I think that gives, again, a little bit more depth where it's almost playing devil's advocate for what you think is right. There's going to be, I'm going to throw this little wrench in the situation, and then you tell me if it's still right.
Right.
So I see ethical questions as very similar, and I don't think we're going to get much difference from anyone that's listening what their thoughts are on it. But bringing up a moral dilemma or the morality in a situation. So ethical questions may not be defined by the use of a simple sentence or a question mark per se, but a presentation almost like sometimes even like a hypothesis, almost like an experiment. We're gonna, here's the question, here's two sides. Now let's see what your thoughts are when I present this argument to you. So I feel like many times these questions turn into a broader conceptualization of certain morals, truth versus deception, justice. It turns into a broader topic when you start to break it down. And I also think that these questions can also fan out into other ethical questions. And so, we'll talk about some movies, but you'll find a lot of the movies we talk about start with one question, leads into another question that support an overarching question. And in some cases, I think they may be used to critique something or someone, that's not always an unbiased. It could be to make a statement about, a lot of times if you're critiquing something like law enforcement or big pharma or something, you're making a stance on it while also presenting things. So it's almost like you're making your thesis statement based on the evidence that you're showing throughout the movie. And we'll get in. I think it'll make more sense once we talk about the movies that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think what they do is offer a discussion to expand perspective. So, like you were saying, both you guys are saying, if something's right, wrong, someone's morals, it's bringing different perspectives on any given situation that they're presenting. So, yes, this telling the truth is morally correct, but what if telling a lie does this for a person instead? Like that sort of thing. So, we're going to look into some movies and have a little discussion on how this how we as the audience are shown these things. So today's itinerary: common themes of these types of movies. We've got open-endedness versus making a statement, which could also be bias versus unbiased presentation. We have fourth wall breaking, and then we have overall examples in film. So we'll discuss quite a few, and then each of us is going to present a personal one and kind of lead us through that one and kind of talk about the moral dilemma in those movies. And I guess actually answer the question that it proposes in them. Okay, so first bullet point here is common questions, common themes of these movies, of ethical movies, where they're presenting something for you, for the audience to ponder the morality of. Did you guys get a chance to think of any common themes that you see with movies that do that, or no?
Well, I see a lot of like themes of betrayal, like what constitutes betrayal in relationships. You see that a lot in Hollywood movies of unfaithful, you know what I mean, or a betrayal of a partner, you know, like a law enforcement partner. Like, oh, how could you betray the badge? You know, I'm drawn to movies like that, or a soldier, the soldier who goes a little bit rogue, and it maybe that's just the kind of movie that I like. When there's like, oh, why did he do that? What forced him to do that? What made him, corrupt the badge, sully his family name? What made him do that? And I want to see, what made the character do that. So there's like like a betrayal, like a, and then also I think like another big one that I seen was the value of life, like whose experience, not life like life and death, but like whose experience is more important, whose experience is more valued. And that goes back to like the poverty too. Like you see in a lot of movies, like some movies will present that there's more value placed on someone who lives this kind of life, or more value placed on someone who lives this kind of life. And you find yourself pulling for, almost like you're being coached to pull for a certain, is the word archetype I'm looking for? Like a certain character that has a certain traits over another group. It's like, and is that even right? That feels yucky to me. Whenever I say something feels a little bit yucky in a movie, I'm thinking there's an ethical question there for me. Like it's a first, I think there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
I want to just keep talking over. But
the more you go into it, the more you realize, like, just about, it seems like every movie is asking me what my thoughts are on any given set of values.
Like the guy wins the lottery. It's like, it could happen to you. Was that a Nick Cage movie or something? I don't know. Or there's a movie that's like that. It's like, I think that to myself, it should be just a lighthearted movie. And now all of a sudden you're stuck with the question, like, who do I help out? Do I donate it to the poor? And it makes it interesting because you think to yourself, I do want to take care of myself. I do want to live high off the hog. I wouldn't just donate all of it. And that's an ethical question, a huge one.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting, even as we start this first topic, is that we're all going to be focusing on different common themes that we see, because we're just the way that our lens is shaped. We're going to be seeing movies through these lenses and picking up these questions because they might hit a little bit more close to home. So that, I think, hopefully is going to be different from one another, because you mentioned what you mentioned, K-Max, and I feel like it's already different than what I'm going to be saying.
I like it.
Iron Man, what do you got? What common themes do you see in ethical movies?
Well, there's like, so in some of the ethical questions you'd see in movies where it's like, they're put in situations that we can't really see ourselves in. And a rock and a hard place where it's almost go with the flow or do the right thing where it puts you in danger is one route. There's ones where they're either way is bad, and you pick the better of two evils, and there's kind of different setups of where it pulls you in which direction. And it almost depends on what type of character you're dealing with. If it's going to be he's got to turn to a better side, or he's going to make the hard right choice, or the go with the flow, the easier bad choice. And then there's some, because I know the movie that I picked, it's like two bad choices or two good choices that can go bad either way. And it's and between me and even me and my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I could pick this. It's one of the few movies I've looked at and I was like, I actually don't know what side I would pick. So that's where I thought, I was like, oh, I like this choice, so I'm going to go with this one.
That's kind of fun though.
Yeah.
So I some common themes I'll throw out there then is vigilantism. So taking like the law into your own hands. So, is it right to follow the law, or is it right to make sure justice is served?
Right.
Do you do you go after the bad guy knowing that he's going to be scot-free, or do you follow the law and trust the justice system to do what it's supposed to be doing? You see, and I guess these are kind of related, but help versus control. There's a lot of movies out there. I'll give a hint. So, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where it's do you help these people or do you control these people when you have them in institutions like that? And it relates to a movie that came out more recently, a movie called Spiderhead on Netflix with Thor.
With Thor? Yeah. Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I think I watched it here.
And so, similar thing where it's, well, where's the line here between help and control? I see that quite a bit, and you can see it in different movies that deal with institutions, like actual institutions. You know, if anyone's been following the pod, we've used that word quite a bit. But healthcare, you know, that sort of thing. Mental help, you know, a lot of movies that have those as common themes tend to ask that question. Mm-hmm. You also have the idea of institution versus individual, and that institution is the one that what we've been talking about the past few episodes, where you could look back at our poverty episode with Florida Project, Parasite, Bicycle Thieves. You know, is it the system failing the people, or is it people failing themselves? Is it a combination? How much of a combination? You know, what do they do to improve this? Is it not? Can they not improve on it because it's all on the system? So I think you see that a lot too. And when you relate it to the poverty, it's kind of like entire genres of movies then are dealing with this ethical question. And then in a lot of action movies, you get this idea of sacrifice one to save many. Mm-hmm. You see it in so many, and we'll go over examples in a bit, but you know, how much is one life worth when it comes to saving X amount of people? Is it right to sacrifice this one person in order to save that many? And I mean, you see that in so many movies, more than you might think. And then the only other one I have is a broad, common theme with movies that give you moral dilemmas is, I guess, along the same lines as vigilantism, but just the idea of justice. So you have the cop that plants evidence, or you have, spoiler alert, but like Promising Young Woman. Like, what is justice? Is it making sure that the wrongdoers get their comeuppance, or is it making sure that good people get rewarded? So that sort of thing too. So that was my group of common themes I've noticed with these movies. Have you guys have any other comments?
I don't know. I don't want to steal any from James. I thought like unethical, like business practices. Mm-hmm. Like there's a few like that, right? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, I think of like Wall Street.
Yeah.
Or is it Glenn Ross? Mm-hmm. And then like just how like it's almost like a whole subgenre. Yeah. of it plays. I mean, that's the feature of the film. Is why you watch it. It's like it plays on that. Mm-hmm. You know, I always think to myself, sometimes I think, man, I wish we could do like streaming service series. You know, they're not movies, you know, but there's some good ones that fit nicely, you know. And
well, I think Thank You for Smoking is a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, that has multiple layers of ethical questions, I feel like.
And then I think what you said, you compromise your morals for the greater good, you know. That's another one. I think most of these are kind of said, they're just said a little bit differently, I guess. You know what I mean?
I didn't use the movie, but I like the idea of the movie Watchmen, if anyone ever seen that. Because you have Veidt, who's willing to sacrifice millions to save billions. He's like, yeah, I'd gladly kill all these people to save the rest of the world from nuclear war. And then you have like Rorschach, who's like, I won't sacrifice anything. Right. I'm sticking to my guns. You'll have to kill me.
So again, multiple ethical questions rolled into one movie.
Yeah, I love that.
Each character has their own standard of which they live by, and it's in conflict with everyone else. And it's such, I don't know. I really like that movie. I'm not using that one, but it just came to mind talking about it.
I kind of hope that someone would have, because I think that's it. Well, just bringing it up, I think it's getting its comeuppance, which I think is awesome. I love that term, by the way.
But even Rorschach, the idea of Rorschach, or his face is like, well, what do you see?
Mm-hmm,
It's like, that's exactly what the movie's asking you. Is what do you see here? Is this right? Is this wrong?
I think it's cool, too, how filmmakers sneak in some moral dilemmas, some ethical questions, like even like the Avengers.
Yeah,
A lot of
Civil
times.
War.
Yeah.
That was one where it's like, you on Iron Man's side or are you on Captain America's side?
And they all...
And that one is an example later.
Oh, okay.
Okay, alrighty.
But with the Watchmen, where pretty much Dr. Manhattan's going to be like this martyr for everything. Like, mankind is going to hate you, but there'll be peace.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're right. So it was like kind of a version of kill one to save many.
Yeah, well, his was very, what is it, utilitarian, where he's like, yeah, well, a dead body has as many cells as a live body.
Yeah,
what
I
difference
like
does
that.
it make? You know, like that was one of his lines. Where oh, you're out of touch completely.
Well, I was going to say, what about the ultimate hero, the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good? Thanos. I can do this. I have to. It's a burden.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
have to do it.
That's
No
a
one
good
else is going to do it but me.
And I feel like that's always like somewhat like, so many people are like, oh, Thanos is right, but don't go into it. Like, you should go into it.
Yeah.
It goes pretty deep if you try to.
That's it.
If you try to attack it or support it, you find some things out about yourself, I feel like.
Isn't that true? By the way, I wasn't rooting for Thanos. Benjamin, I was not rooting for Thanos. You got a good dad. You got a good daddy.
You're getting a Thanos is right shirt. Next to your Christmas, I'm too old for this shirt.
Right.
Your Die Hard shirt coming. Your Christmas Die Hard
I
shirt.
can see new murals in the barbershop coming soon with your craziness and your ability to do for graphics. Oh, goodness. What have we done?
So we'll move into the idea of presenting an open-ended presentation or making a statement and a stance on a subject. I feel like I can't fully explain that one without providing some examples. So we'll go with something like A Few Good Men. And the idea of, where does blind obedience versus keeping the order, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the idea of, following orders is right, but what if the orders are wrong?
There it is.
You know?
That's trying to find a way to say that. You see, I remember your grandpa used to have that one he used to tell us in Sunday school. I mean, it's an example, but like as a tank commander in Korea, you're everything against probably one of the most peaceful men I know, one of my heroes. I remember him telling us a story of they would send the kids out there with grenades to throw grenades into the tanks. And your commanding officer is like, if anybody steps up, you can holler the warning in Korean a couple times. If they don't heed it, you got to 50 cal them out of the way.
Is it really? Wow.
And I remember him, crying and explaining to us, because we had a class from boys, how do you get these idiot boys to behave? Tell them war stories,
Yeah.
And, one of the lessons were about obeying orders and following the rules and obeying orders and understanding the chain of command. And he's like, and we were like, kind of half listening. He's like, I'll tell you, it's one time I had to face that. We were like, I've never forgot that. Wow, that's heavy. Mm-hmm. And then, like, what was it? The what was it? Five people meet in heaven. You see little. I mean, I'm getting into specifics. I shouldn't. But like, that's a big one, and I'm drawn to that a lot because I like Rambo and First Blood, and here's the reason why he fell out with his special forces team was he didn't listen to the kill order. He loved kids too much. He loves puppies, so he's this big rough guy, but he's got this sensitive edge.
Yeah.
Where the rest of these guys are just trained killers, Yeah. And so it makes me love that character and follow him because of that uniqueness to him. Like, oh, he can do it. Oh, he can get you if he wants to, but he's got a moral compass.
Yeah.
But when it comes to either unbiased presentation or taking a stance, A Few Good Men is definitely taking a stance.
That's right.
And saying, hey, I get you have your orders, but you got to know what's right and what's wrong here. And we'll circle back to this, but just the whole idea that it's a trial. So the idea of having a trial where you're presenting two sides of things, and you're trying to decide, well, what's right, who's in the right in this situation, is exactly what we're talking about when we say presenting an ethical discussion. And so in this case, though, there is a verdict, and there is definitely a stance that the movie's taking on that ethical dilemma. But you could have things that are open-ended, such as something like, I think I'd say Trainspotting might fit into this. And again, Trainspotting is going to circle back into our conversation throughout the night, but the idea that can you abandon your friends if it means improving yourself? So I don't know have you guys seen Trainspotting? Mm-hmm. So the idea that they're all in this together, this selling of the heroin to get the money, takes the money for himself, makes eye contact with Spud, knowing, I know I'm doing you dirty here, and then full on knows that some of these other guys, they're leaving them with Begbie, also the volatile character of the bunch, and pretty much their lives may be ruined by not having the same opportunity that Renton is going to get by taking this money. Mm-hmm. But as he's leaving, he's listing off how he's going to improve himself. So to me, it was the movie was capped off by asking us, is it okay for him to ditch his friends the way he did if it means improving his own life? And we've seen how he's made mistakes and how this might turn his life around. So it ends like that, though. It doesn't show us if he actually did better or not. There is a sequel, but just we're talking about the first movie.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of left it up in the air, thinking, would I have done the same thing if it meant, I could give myself a fresh new start and get my life back on track? Or do I stay with these guys and continue to deal drugs and be with the likes of some of those characters like Begbie and the, kind of low lifes? And
yeah. So
what are you guys' thoughts on
how many
so
movies
far?
Put you in that same vibe, though, where you're pulling for a character? Just get out of there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just make your escape. I mean, we've talked about probably a dozen movies where when you're watching it, you're hoping for that. And then we play right into the filmmaker's hand because we're kind of hoping for that character to make that one choice, that critical choice to get out. And they get pulled back in. And how many times do we see like maybe a hero that goes back that one last time, and that's the critical error for them, And I mean, they learned the lesson then, but they stayed true to themselves. And again, I'll talk about how they sometimes poverty romanticizes that dynamic. Sometimes it's like staying true to the streets, staying true to, and that's where sometimes I feel like there should be better representation of people who aren't as true to the streets. They're not an enemy of their friends, and they don't judge their friends, but they take that braver step in trying to get away from the streets and trying to do something better for themselves.
That's Will Hunting, not wanting
that's it.
to leave because there's something romantic about.
Right, and then Ben Affleck saying,
"Yep, you idiot!
If you're still here, don't be offended. But if you're still here, and again, I'm gonna kick your butt." Yeah. I was thinking of another one that was we're not leaving open ended yet, right?
No.
Okay,
no,
I'll be quiet. Then
both statement or open ended.
I got you. Okay, because an open ended one that I that screams at me is Hotel Rwanda. Don Cheadle's character is kind of like, it seems open and shut, like it's the ethical question of genocide. So a dynamic that happened during that period of time in that area of the world and continues to happen in that area of the world is, when there's tribalism there, right? Like, not just tribalism that we know it here in the sterile West. Literal tribes that when they vote, when one political party comes over, a certain tribe it takes over, and they would be so bitter they would wipe out and attempt genocide on the other tribe that they took power from. And this happened and is happening now in 2025. This is looking at Rwanda, and he's a diplomat. And I don't want to get too far into it. I'll just say this. He's trying to help by housing these people in this hotel where they have diplomatic immunity. Mm. And by doing that, he creates a bigger problem internationally for these people. So he's helping them in the micro, I guess I would say. He's helping them in the main, because it's the right thing to do. The moral thing is you help people. They're going to kill them. You house them and help them. But it's creating a bigger issue for them down the road and globally. And you see it through the film, and it leaves it up to you. By the way, Blockbuster, I lost my membership because I never gave that movie back. I watched it repeatedly, watched it, and finally I thought...
Couldn't make up your mind, huh?
I couldn't make up my mind. And they never solved it for me. And I think I still have that... movie.
That's funny.
I think I still have Hotel Rwanda. I think I still have
You're
it.
the reason they went out of business.
It's your own ethical dilemma.
I did it. I did this.
Is there still one still open? It's like Oregon, right?
Is it really?
I thought there was one that was still open.
Sounds like a road trip to me.
You can go return the movie.
Sounds like mischief to me.
You can make it right. Tin Man looks at me. You can go return your movie, you big heathen.
Yeah, it's open. The store's open. It closes soon. Closes at 10.
Oh, we're not going to make it.
Yeah, we're not going to make it. Yeah, I guess I keep it another 25 years.
It closes at 9 p.m. On the West Coast.
Oh, we got 3 hours.
It's in Bend, Oregon. There's still a Blockbuster open.
Okay. Wow. Something to think about.
Looks like we're going to Blockbuster to return some movies.
At least one.
At least one.
Yeah, Hotel Rwanda. I mean, when you heard open-ended, I thought,
Iron Man, you got a red tape one to return, right?
A red box? A red box.
No, a red VHS tape to return.
From the section that had the little covers on them.
I remember trying to peek at the covers at least. I remember walking over there and my dad saying, "Get over here." Whoa.
Yeah, just trying to be sneaky, but there's nothing else that could be over there.
That's right. It's like looking at any kind of magazine inside of Sports Illustrated bookstore. I mean, those are the things that Tin Man told me he did.
Tin Man, just throw me under the bus over.
Yeah, I know. I had no idea.
I just saw your dad the other day too.
Did you?
I didn't know he had a missing tooth.
Oh yeah, it's the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing.
It's like right in the front.
And I told him right now. I said, "Dad, I will pay for that tooth right now." And he's like this. He goes, "No, I like it." Why? And he just laughs all the time. I don't know.
It just it's got character, I guess.
Dale Howard-Chuck.
He was like, I could still play basketball, but I got this gut, and it was just like, he's like, I get sore bowling. I got to take 3 days off to bowl. That's it's just my body up here because I could still play.
God bless him. He's like my cousin Stevie, man. They're still 18.
Yeah.
But that's another story altogether.
It is. So another movie I think kind of provides a statement on the argument they're presenting is a little ditty called Funny Games. Have you guys heard of this movie?
I have not.
Me either. Neither.
It's actually...
Me as well.
It's a foreign filmmaker. I can't remember from where. He made an original movie. Same title in their language, but he remade it for an American audience as well. Same exact thing, just remade it for the American audience.
There's one in 2007?
Yes. Michelle Williams, starring Michelle Williams, I believe. I could be wrong.
It looks like Naomi Watts.
Naomi Watts.
Okay.
That's it. Got my blondes mixed up. The ethical dilemma it presents is us as the audience and critiquing what we view as entertainment. And it does this by itself being a horror movie. So it's kind of like a home invasion movie, but and this will segue into our fourth wall breaking, but it it speaks directly to us at times. So sure, there's a narrative going on where these people are terrorizing this family, but there is no why, and that's the point. And they break the fourth wall. They talk to us directly as the audience. Little spoiler alert here, but there's a part where the family gets free and they escape. They shoot and kill the attackers. They get out, but the movie rewinds to the point of when they get free. And from what I remember, one of the characters even talks to the audience and says something along the lines of, oh, you thought they were going to be free. Well, this isn't that type of movie, type of thing. Again, I'm paraphrasing that. But so the movie literally rewinds itself to that point, and they do not end up getting free. And so the whole movie is just critiquing the audience. So I guess the ethical dilemma would be, what we view as entertainment. And I always thought that one was a little bit interesting, because how do you can't get your message out there without being a horror movie yourself, or because it was mostly on, that type of movie, the home invasion. So there's just bad stuff happening, kids getting attacked, women getting attacked, in, many ways. And with the movie saying, oh, you're horrible for viewing this as entertainment. But the only way this message is getting seen is by being one of those things.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's almost a double-edged ethical dilemma, because then it's like, whoa, well, then what does that tell you about show business, that you're willing to cater your own values in order to get your message across? I thought that one was pretty interesting.
I feel like there's a whole subgenre of that. Exactly. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think, what was the one with Richard Dawson was the host? Not, and I don't mean Family Feud, but I mean he was. I think was Schwarzenegger in it? It was a movie.
Oh, Running Man.
Running Man, and then also like the Hunger Games, those type of things. To me, because I read that with the English class for the sophomores, the Hunger Games, and reading some of it feels a little yucky, because I'm like, there's more dilemmas all over the place here. There's reasons why they do what they do. They're awful reasons, but they're reminders. And I'm like, I get that you're trying to teach these lessons, but this is an awful way you're doing it. And definitely unethical way of doing it, choosing tributes, and that they're going to give their lives, and you're going to televise it and glorify it, And I never even thought of it that way, that, to look at the audience who enjoys watching it. It's not just the government that's trying to control people by showing this. It's almost like Rome, like the Colosseum. Yeah. Look who's going. You're going to this. And I think I apply that to even me now, outside of film, and that I watch a sport where guys are getting CTE and guys are getting busted up and dying on the field. I live for sports to watch those sports, and I watch MMA a lot, and you got these guys. And so at a lesser level...
I was going to say, there is a difference between the reasons for Hunger Games being the capital trying to keep authority.
Yeah.
They don't want to quell any type of revolution. So we keep them by playing these games. They continue the games to keep us in check. And in Running Man, they fabricated his whole backstory so that everyone cheered for him when he dies or when he gets killed, or when they have to make up a death for him.
Yeah.
So that's their ratings based on this. We kidnap people.
That's right.
We have free entertainment. We don't have to pay this guy. We're going to kill him eventually. But that's where all our ratings go up. So everyone has their own. And Rome was like, we'll keep them distracted so we can do all the stuff over here. With the games. So everyone that's running the games has their own reasons, and they all seem to be nefarious.
That's right.
But that's, I don't know.
I think it's interesting, though, to Vaz's point, that all those kind of fit in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All three of those time periods and whatnot kind of fit in that. And those huge ethical questions.
Right, and you may be outraged at first, but then you think well, I'm part of the masses here. So what does that say about me if I'm easily governed that way?
Yeah.
So going into fourth wall breaking. So if anyone doesn't know fourth wall, it's kind of the barrier between you and the narrative. So when someone breaks the fourth wall, it's when in relation to movies anyway, it's when the story, actor, etc., acknowledges the presence of the audience or the camera or any other outside the universe of the movie, like acknowledges its existence. So something like, Deadpool, where, he's talking right at you. He's speaking to the audience. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was a little Easter egg.
Did you just acknowledge
that? Was a little Easter egg right there for anyone that listened to the last episode. Hopefully you can hear it on the... That's a freebie for anyone.
Yes.
I always thought the fourth wall was stage acting. You had stage left, stage right, backdrop.
Well, that's what I said in relation to film.
Being audience directional. Okay. Yeah.
So so your quote fourth wall, like I said, is the barrier between you and the narrative. So your screen, I guess, is that quote wall.
Okay. Beautiful.
Agreed.
So usually it's done by looking directly into the camera or addressing the audience directly. I think you can, in some cases, see narration as this.
John Cusack movie?
Yeah. But I think narration sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just telling the story, but sometimes like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he's giving you the message of whatever's going on,
Mm-hmm. Let him come at you pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in relation to movies that ask you ethical questions, it's used to like drive home the point. They're either driving home the argument or they're driving home their stance on the subject matter. So again, I mentioned funny games. So the fourth wall break, when they're rewinding it, they're acknowledging that this is a movie, and they're rewinding it and then telling the audience, oh no, they're not getting away. Here's what's going to happen instead. And then at first I said no to Deadpool because Iron Man was telling me about, like Deadpool. I was like, well, maybe not exactly like that because I don't know if it raises enough ethical questions. But I think it does because he, like the vigilante, is going around doing his own justice and killing people, but it's bad people. Like that. There's your ethical dilemma there.
Like True Lies. You kill... Yeah, but they're all bad.
But they were all bad.
That's one of my favorite lines. But I was gonna open the show with that.
Are they gonna kill us?
But they're all bad.
Yep. They were all bad.
There's one movie I think of, and I don't even know if it's right, with ethical question, tackling that, using the fourth wall. Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, yes.
Pretty much looking and saying how corrupt Wall Street is, and here's why we did this. Here's how it worked so easily,
right?
And here's how it would continue to work for anybody. But like breaking it down, saying, in case you're missing the point here, of the...
Was any of this illegal?
Yeah, right.
Absolutely not.
Really good. How can the same guy pull off Farley and DiCaprio in consecutive weeks?
You forgot my Neil Goldman.
Oh, Neil Goldman.
But only when I say master of the Segway. That's the only line.
Well, it's the only line you need. That's great. Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street there with the...
I tried to look into fourth wall breaks. The only one that came to mind was I was watching analysis of The Shining, and that's the only one that came to mind. Is if you watch Jack Nicholson, he'll make subtle ticks where he glances at the camera, but he does it like throughout the movie in little scenes where he's acting, and he'll do that. Like he'll just quickly glance at the camera, keep going. He kind of like connects to the audience for a second. You're like, wait a minute, did he just look right at?
I got to be honest. When the first couple times I see that, I was almost like freaking out, like I was in some kind of psychosis, like mild.
Like, wait a minute, did I see that?
To me, that was the effect that it was going for. Not necessarily with what we're talking about with driving home ethical, like talking directly to the audience, saying, "Oh, here, pay attention. I'm presenting this argument." That one I feel like was a technique used by Kubrick to get under your skin a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, connect you
I think
into the
it's
story.
unethical. He allowed him to do that.
Well, I mean, which would get into another part of the discussion. Like we're talking about Hollywood here, about ethical questions and who's the author of these. You know,
Exactly.
Who's making?
Who are they to
things?
tell us what's moral and what's not? What?
A lot
Give me
of times
Ricky
we circle
Gervais.
back to that. You know?
Yeah.
Their religion, like they're telling us what religion's about.
Pretty sure Harvey Weinstein produced that one. I don't know.
I think of Ricky Gervais at the hosting the Oscars or the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Like, get up here, collect your, thank your God, and sit down.
Sit down. We don't care. We don't care.
We don't care. Then he has his bourbon. He goes, "It's my last time. It's my last one." That was a masterpiece.
So another one, I think another Jack Nicholson one. I think it's a little bit more subtle though and you could almost say you could probably say it's not a fourth wall break, but to me it's right on that edge there. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Because it certainly drives home the point in both times it does it. There's when he gets the shock treatment or whatever it is, right? The way that it's shot, he's taking up the whole screen, like his face, I mean. And when he gets the treatment and he lets go, it's almost like he's looking, at you, like at the camera. And you see this again at the end when Chiefy is suffocating him to put him out of his misery. When he lifts the pillow, it's the same look, right? And so it's almost like he's looking at the camera, but you can argue he is, you could argue he isn't. To me, it's like right there. But both times, though, to me, that's presenting the argument right there are these two things the same?
I see.
Is giving this guy treatment so that he can't think for himself anymore the same as just go ahead and just killing him? Because that's what you're doing. You're taking away his free will, taking away everything that makes him, and you just turn him into a zombie. And so this, quote, fourth wall break is, to me, helps drive home that ethical dilemma right there.
I like that. I mean, when I first watched it, I felt the weight of those moments, of those two particular moments. The film is set up for you to feel the weight of both those moments. I never looked at it that way, but now that I think about it, I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah.
Now that I think about that, they parallel nicely. It hasn't been a long time since I've seen it. Me and Sean saw it not long ago. It's one of our. It's great.
And
I've seen it since high school. I watched it
So
in high school.
good.
I'm going to have a little offshoot here off the fourth wall in terms of how films present things, but I'll present one more fourth wall break, and it's one that we already talked about, is Trainspotting. So the narration, it seems like it's storytelling, right? But to me, it's also seeming like he's having a discussion with the audience. The way that he speaks, the subject matter, it's all just as if he's talking with you, not moving along the story per se. He's saying how things are. He's saying, thoughts and things that are, well, like I said, just having a discussion almost with the audience. And then at the end, I think it's even a callback to earlier in the movie, but he's running away. He gets hit by a car, and he kind of steps up and he starts laughing, puts his hand on the car, looks at the driver, but we're in that seat.
That's right, yeah.
And he starts laughing before he gets tackled. In the meantime, there's like narration going on. So to me, it's we're making eye contact with him. This narration is asking all these things like, choose life, choose a car, choose this. So to me, it's like breaking down how he should be improving himself, and you got to see his journey up until then. So that fourth wall break is kind of like driving home the point of, here's what he's been led to believe. Should he have done what he just did? Typically.
No, I see.
So that's how I see that part.
I like the way you that you. So I'm thinking back. It's been a while since I've seen Trainspotting, and there's quite a few times that he's looking at the camera, but it's supposed to be you're seeing through the eyes of one of the characters. But he's certainly looking at the looking right at the camera at critical moments. And I think that's pretty brilliant. Brilliant. Is that Guy Ritchie or no?
Boyle.
Okay, man. Now that I think about that, it's been a long time since I've seen it. And I know the one particular scene you're talking about when he's on the hood, he's holding on to and he's looking right in there.
Right.
And we are the driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still having the same effect of the fourth wall break, I think.
Right.
I wouldn't have had any idea what was going on then. I was just watching it saying, "Oh, cool."
I feel like it also gives Danny Boyle. It is, but it kind of also, to me, subliminally gives the feeling like we're only seeing a slice of his life, because as this driver, you're only intersecting him at this part right here.
That's right.
You're not really getting no real backstory. It's just like, no, here's the situation right here. Whatever we just showed you, that's the situation. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think what are your ethical thoughts on how all of this transpired? Because we're not asking anything else. It's just right here, this sliver of life. So I feel like that's how it made me feel.
When he was saying subliminal, I was going to say limit.
Roads.
Rudes.
Quiet back there.
Roads.
Any other thoughts on fourth wall breaking?
Okay. I got nothing.
So I was going to say, because of my thoughts on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, kind of segued into how the structure of movies that are focused on presenting you an ethical question. And so when you go through One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, to me, it's presenting two sides of this. Because you have this unruly character with Jack Nicholson. What's his name in the movie again? Randall
McMurphy.
Yeah. To me, it presented two sides of his character in terms of this guy is unruly. He needs control. He needs some limits here to behave in society. Hence why he's at this institution.
Yeah, limit.
And then you see the other side of it with Nurse Ratched, and it's like, well, that ain't helping him. This is just controlling him. And through this movie, you're having that struggle of which one wins out here. Because if Randall has his way, he's running amok, and he's causing revolution in the institution.
It's hilarious.
And then if you go Nurse Ratched's way, it's, well, he's lobotomized, and he has no free thought whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's where can these meet anywhere? And so, like, you have I brought up like the science experiment, and it's kind of like you show both sides, you present a situation, you present an argument, you present a dilemma, and then you kind of have your experiment, and then you have a result. And now you can either present this result in an unbiased way and say, here's my objective data for you to interpret. Or you could say, nope, we definitely found out, like in A Few Good Men, we found out it is not good to just blindly obey orders because bad things happen. And in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, we kind of have, to me, it was more open-ended than you may think. Because it ended with him with the treatment, robbing him of any free thought and whatever. But before it got to that point, when he was in charge, he was about to kill Nurse Ratched, and sure, like he was sparked on that because Nurse Ratched did something to his buddy before that, but that was his response, was to try and literally kill her, choke her to death, right? So I feel like you had kind of both things happen, and the thing that won out was Randall died, but then you also saw, well, control doesn't work either, and so it kind of
leave it open.
It volleys it back to the audience to say, well, which one works then? Are you just allowed to have run amok because that means you have free thought? Like, what happens to trying to behave and fit into society then? So I thought it was pretty open-ended, but again, felt like it fit that idea of presenting an argument and then letting kind of having a climax in the story mix in with your presentation, and then having the audience either accept your stance on it or start to interpret the data that you've given them.
Mm-hmm. But what an important dynamic that film can bring to the table. To look at something and say, a question like that. So what's the final analysis? What do we do about this? And does just free thought run amok? Because we can see what that end is. Or is ultimate control the thing that people can't be? Almost goes back to like Hobbes, like these Enlightenment thinkers, Hobbes and the other Enlightenment thinkers, where Hobbes is like, man is a evil beast and needs big government to control them. Kind of like now it justifies absolute monarchs and dictatorships and people, because people need strong government. Where you have John Locke and those guys saying, no, man's pretty good. And they should be able to let them make their mind up. And government needs to be very small, and because people are pretty good and they're going to make good decisions generally. So that conversation goes all the way back to those things. And you look at political fighting and why they can't agree is they're dogmatic, saying they can't be trusted. They need to have strong, they had to have this, and they need to have Nurse Ratched needs to have order, otherwise, because they can't do it themselves. Or, you get a whole other, you have a very liberal-minded thing there. No, they should be able to do these things and find out for themselves. The market will correct itself, and, all this other stuff. So, how do you have those conversations if you can't have them in open debate anymore? Right. How do you have, maybe film helps. Maybe film, maybe it does.
I mean, I think it definitely, it's tough though, because it still has an artist behind everything.
Right. That's right. Oh my gosh! Sorry, I was going to get carried away with like the Newsroom and the West Wing, and this makes perfect sense. Then you realize just how liberal the person is that created both of those shows, and you're like, okay, right. It's like, so the creator, the artist, like you're saying right now, the artists. Remember, they're getting their message across.
They have an idea of what their message is already. But I do feel that there are movies that's the point, is to bring this up because maybe they don't even know. So things like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where depending on your stance on it already, you may already say, oh man, that's a tragedy, what they did to Randall.
Yeah.
And then other people might say, oh, good thing that guy's off the streets. I don't want to walk into that guy accidentally.
Yeah. And then, it's funny when people tip their hands, right? You be watching a movie with someone and you have it. And I think I tip my hand a lot. You know what I mean? Like I will really like cheer at things, and people will be like, whoa. And I'll even do that to myself sometime. If the bad guy gets his, I'm like, yeah. And I'll even like swear, like, I'm trying to think of like movies where it's happened, where I'll like be so angry at the character and they finally get theirs. I'm like, that's right. And just recently I was watching a movie, and I don't know who it was. I don't know whose company I was in, but I think maybe Ben was like, whoa, something. Because I was like so into the vengeance, the bloodlust. I'm like, he got his. It happened. Maybe, I don't know. I know with Game of Thrones, I felt that when
King
Joffrey.
Joffrey?
Yes. When it happened, I'm like, that's right. And when
Tywin got shot on the
on the
can.
John?
Yeah.
those moments, I find out just how, like, you pull for a character. You question your own ethics, too, because he just got killed in cold blood.
Yeah, and when Daenerys died, too. No? Oh, okay. Didn't she, like, murder, like, thousands of innocent people in the city right before she died?
That's true.
I was okay with her death.
So hot, though. When she smiles, her whole face smiles.
So, well, I'll let Iron Man go through Gone Baby Gone because I think that's pretty open-ended as well. But there's a couple others. $1 Million Baby. Just the idea of where does a patient's autonomy end? Mm-hmm. Another one is Doubt. I feel like the whole thing is ethical question after ethical question, not just, religion in society, but the idea of accusing someone, not just in the church, but just in general, accusing someone or planting evidence or acting prejudiciously, all on a hunch, for lack of a better term. Yeah. Where you don't have the actual evidence and you don't actually 100% know, but you got a hunch that that's what's going on. So you're going to go 100% on it. Mm-hmm. And, the movie's called Doubt for a reason. And, so you may be attacking an innocent person, or you might be rightfully trying to get someone caught. And
that movie looked interesting. I never did get a chance to see it, though. Worth my time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so the ethical questions come from that. It comes from, like I said, the church. The idea that this person being accused, I think, gets promoted. I think. But yeah, tons of questions, and I feel like it's not, again, it could be your own personal stance where you're siding with people because you're looking for that thing to help you make up your mind, and that could be from the filmmaker, or it could just be that that's what you want to believe. And that's kind of, to me, like the placebo when we talk about the experiment, the hypothesis way of presenting an ethical dilemma and relating it to like an experiment. So let's get into some more actual film examples then of just ethical questions, the questions they ask, how they ask them, and what we thought on that. So let me see if there's anyone. Captain America: Civil War.
Oh, yeah, I seen that one.
Yeah, Iron Man. Tell me, can you pick up any ethical questions that may have asked us?
So the first one that comes to mind is who's going to keep the superheroes in check? So they wanted to keep a registry, or the Sokovia Accords, mm-hmm. and they kind of, what it does is it's supposed to govern the heroes or the superheroes so that they can be sidelined when not necessary, or used whenever a higher power sees fit. That they can't just be rogue tools to their own.
Not allowed to be free, basically.
Not allowed to be free, yeah.
And I mean, you can relate that to, it doesn't just have to be superhero, but just the idea of anyone being different having to register because they're different. Mm-hmm. And the idea of freedom versus government oversight. Where's the line? Because you would think in this case, in this specific one where it's superheroes that have all these crazy powers, that maybe there should be a line, because who knows what they could do, But where do you draw it? Who knows? And that's why you have good guy versus good guy, trying to figure out, well, how do we govern ourselves? How do we make sure that we stay in check? Can we even govern ourselves? Because so far you're fighting each other. It doesn't look like you can.
Mm-hmm. Right. I feel like that movie raises really cool questions
What kind of questions did you get, K-Max? Or is it kind of similar things?
Two of them are very similar. They're just worded a little bit differently. Individual liberty versus collective safety. And again, I like guns, right? But that's a big question to me, who works in a public school and who loves my kids more than life or guns.
And yeah, we could relate that even. Like, instead of superheroes, we'll just say guns then.
Yeah, honestly,
weapons.
I don't mind making that reach. It's not popular in my circles.
Right.
But I don't mind making that reach because, again, I feel like you have to be tactful. If you're going to approach hard conversations, you have to be tactful about it. Very tactful. Otherwise, everybody puts up their dukes. I'm the king of defensiveness, and I see it. I know it when I see it. But so then you see when someone else gets defensive, it's like, why would you ever approach a tough subject? Well, you know that someone's going to be when people are going to be very defensive, and the reason why you're defensive about things is because something's precious to you. To you, it doesn't have to be for anybody else, but to you it is for some reason or another. So you honor that preciousness. You honor their values by treading lightly and just being very tactful and diplomatic about it. And so, like, silly Marvel movie, Avengers and Captain America Civil War. I remember thinking to myself all the time about, as they're having they'd have the conversations, and I like the way you said it. By having a court case, it's almost open-ended for the audience to decide who's right here, Iron Man's side or Captain America's side. Who's right here? How much regulation is needed? How much government oversight is needed? And then it paints, the government oversight is corrupt also.
Right.
Again, like Superman, like the Justice, you know what I mean? The Superman one, where it's like, are you really looking for the truth here? Are you really looking for the greater good? Is the hero looking for the greater good? Who's being more altruistic here? And you find that, it leaves it up to maybe the audience sometimes. In Civil War, I thought it did.
And yeah, because in Civil War, they literally start fighting each other. So Iron Man represent, much like in real life with our own Iron Man, represents the rigidity of, we have to do this, we have to limit our superheroes, we have to sign the accords, we have to make sure that we keep them in check. But then you have Captain America, which is, no, we can't do that, we can't.
Oh, I was pro Captain America that whole time.
Iron Man, I'm just trying to make a connection.
Well, I think
you're Tin Man then. You're Tin Man.
You're back. Doc on his back to Tin.
Been demoted.
I think of like the other question I had was like the ethics of violence in general. The ethics of violence, like your solutions of why do I like Rambo so much? Why do I like First Blood movies? Why do I like and it's like the vigilante. Going back to the Yummy Payoff episode. I love that moment, man. It's why I love when the bad guy gets theirs.
Yeah, because there's someone willing to cut through the red tape.
That's it. Yeah,
I can get this problem solved right now. It doesn't have to meander its way around and half get solved, half not, and get swept under the rug. No. We're gonna solve it now.
They Otto von Bismarck it, blood and iron. It's like diplomacy out the window, and I'm thinking to myself. It's so weird for me to cheer for that in film because I'm so for due process and diplomacy.
Well, so in Civil War, though, like I was saying, these two characters start fighting each other, but it's pretty much a stalemate.
Yeah.
So that's what you said. It feels like it's presented equally.
Yeah.
And like I said before, you're presenting an argument to the audience. So you show one side, the positives, negatives here. You show the other side, positives, negatives there. And then in the the climax, we have the battle between them. And so it's been a while since I've watched this, but I believe Iron Man would have won, but there is outside interference causing him to lose. Right? Like Bucky comes back to save Captain America, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So to me, it was kind of like...
always reminded me of John Boy, by the way, Bucky.
Oh, I can see it.
Yep, always has.
That's Tin Man's brother.
It's my little bro.
Aluminum.
I call him titanium.
But to me, that kind of spoke on like the public though. It was kind of like, all right, guys, enough of this. Here's peace right here to stop, to keep you right down the middle. We're gonna stop this fight now. So even though, government in Iron Man's case could have taken over the freedom that Captain America presented or represented in this situation, Bucky kind of represented the public and kind of stopping what was going on here and left Iron Man debilitated. But they're both beat. Both these characters are beat after that interference, though. Mm-hmm. So
I thought what was interesting about that also was that, like, the periphery Avengers, they were talking it out a little bit in the middle of the fighting. The main characters were kind of, but you had like Scarlett Johansson's character and others having the conversations that the big fighters weren't having. They were just going at it, and then maybe jabbing a little bit, sparring a little bit with each other with their words. But you had these conversations happening while the actual battle was happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they were almost like, people will be insulted, but like they were ancillary characters. You weren't going to win this fight or lose it anyway. Right. So
yeah.
You're having the discussions then, and sometimes I think that it's related to real life, Cuban Missile Crisis. It wasn't the main leaders. It wasn't Kennedy, Khrushchev. It was like their ministers that got together and stopped that from becoming global crisis. Like, it was the 11th hour interventions of their lieutenants, their representative, that stopped that from happening. And when I was watching Civil War, I thought that, I'm like, there's going to be someone that fixes this or solves it. It's going to be these underlings, these conversations here, and not the two main guys fighting. They're not going to solve it. They're already resolved that this is only one way this is going to end. One of us has to win. Where meanwhile, I don't know if that was something that the filmmakers were trying to do, but that's what I felt like. They're like, they're modeling this a little bit out of the Cuban Missile Crisis, because it's going to be the solution that's going to come between these people solving it diplomatically. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I was reading into it and I'm thinking, meanwhile, Schiffert's like, as the kids say, it's not that deep.
Oh, it's deep. So how about Prisoners? Have you guys seen Prisoners?
Ooh, that's a really good one.
I don't think I have.
Oh,
Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal.
No.
That one's a
worth a watch.
That one's a thriller.
Prisoners.
Yeah, Prisoners. Give that one a shot. It's in my top 50.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that one's in the list.
Well, Gyllenhaal, your boyfriend's in her.
My boyfriend's in it. And it's the coolest hair he's ever had.
Really? Better than, is it
Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler.
Yes, better hair than Nightcrawler. Which is also a pretty ethical movie in itself.
When you go by the list, you could almost just pick it out of a hat, and because it creates good conflict, creates good depth, good drama.
Get the audience engaged. But yeah, so we'll shift from Prisoners to Nightcrawler then, because you guys have both seen that one, right?
Yep.
So just the idea of, what lengths is someone going to go to for personal gain, to further their career. And in this guy's case, what's news, what's entertainment, what.
That's his hair from that.
Oh, that's great hair. Hey, I want to say he looks like a poor man's Colin Farrell right there, though.
I'd say Colin Farrell's a poor man's Jake Gyllenhaal.
You would.
They're fighting words. Some ethical questions coming up here.
My plates have been run, and they've been found wanting. Crud.
But yeah, any thoughts on Nightcrawler's ethical questions for us?
Oh, it's all unethical. Unethical? Unethical. It's all unethical.
Its ethics are wrong.
Well, I feel like it's
anti-ethics.
It's almost like the 24-hour news cycle in how I feel about social media and the 24-hour news cycles. It's erased absolute journalism. It's sensationalism, trying to be the first to cover it over trying to validate and make sure it's correct.
Yeah.
That's what Nightcrawler represents to me. And I think that it might be the most important. I think it might be one of the most important topics of our time. And I think can't think it was a cool, creative way that it was done.
Yeah.
And using him as a vehicle, look at the lengths he's going to. And I'm like, no, this is what you all consume. This is what we all consume.
Right.
Yeah.
Again,
We
kinda
may
like
judge it, but we all follow Adam Schefter, the sports. We're the first to condemn him, but we all want the first feed. We want to know, we can't all be Nick sending out that Sabres pick or the Bills pick, or we're gonna look, we landed this guy, but we all wouldn't mind being that.
kind of, I mean, it reminds me of, I talked about funny games, where it's kind of also critiquing the audience a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Anchorman 2. Where it's a car chase.
Yeah.
Oh, and it just sensationalized this crazy thing on the news, and they're throwing out facts that aren't true.
That's right.
It got everybody's attention. Everybody's watching
I was
it.
gonna say I like that more because it presents it as absurdity.
Yeah.
I'll buy that more, and I almost get that message more when someone goes so far as to present it in an absurd manner. You're like, sadly, that's how it works. Sadly, that's how I feel like we're consuming it anyway. We're getting it sensationalized. Why? Because they used to say, with like advertising back when we used to have a conscience as a society, they would say, well, the reason why I do it is sex sells, and everybody would be like embarrassed and a little bit blushing from it. And now we're just saying, I would have no doubt they go into these meetings and saying, that might be true, but how do we sell this story? How do we print? How do we sell? Print journalism, it probably was a big thing. Is how do we sell this? How do we get clicks? How do we get clicks? How do we get engagement? Pursuit of ratings, sensationalism over truth, over hunger for the truth. And then you look at movies like Washington Post. What was the movie with the Washington Post with Tom Hanks? I think it was The Post.
Okay.
And just like how people lost their jobs over the pursuit of integrity. Again, you got an artist making that with particular very political, but it's still media. It's still something to consume. And, it's funny how you watch a movie like that and you're like, well, I'm glad someone's watching The Watchers. And you're like, but who produced this film, dude?
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Someone paid for this film.
That's
for these
exactly
views,
it.
right?
That's exactly it. And I'm a victim to that. I'll admit that. I like the way I feel when I watch them. When I watch a movie like that, I feel like, yeah, the system's going to be fine. Yeah, look at the accountability here, and I'm like, this is a production company that made this.
Yeah.
And if I dig a little further, I'm like, oh, this was
Who owns the
really made
production
for
company?
a purpose.
Yeah.
And it was a good film, though.
Yeah.
Good film, but I still got to watch it with a careful lens to say this was an artist rendition.
So the next movie I have is actually Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh.
So you may think it's just a fun movie, but it's got a little bit of fourth wall breaking. So when I follow that aspect of the movie, I start to think, okay, well, what is he talking about every time the fourth wall breaks? And to me, you kind of get, you do get some ethical questions here. You got, I feel like it was just the idea of responsibility versus personal desires, or feed me now versus what am I supposed to be doing?
Like id versus superego,
right? And the implications of following what you want versus responsibility. And to me, then you kind of start to go a little bit further.
Are the implications everything works out for your favor?
But I mean, so
I mean, for Ferris, not for everyone else.
Right.
That's the point. That's the point, though. Is my personal desires have caused all this with other people.
Yeah.
And so if I just did what I was supposed to be doing, all these people would also be doing what they're supposed to be doing and be on track. And the whole idea, though, is everyone's focused on themselves. I want my day off. Or the principal, right? Oh, I got to catch him, and instead of just worrying about the other 1,000 kids you got in the high school.
That's right.
And so
It's a good. It's a very good point.
yeah,
Really good. Really good. Honestly, there's some conviction happening here right now because I say that a lot. Like I do my own thing, and I like what I do. I think I'm good at it. I don't do things by the book very often. But when you get a boss that you want to make them look good, and you don't ever want to make them look bad and give them a bad review, I find myself, because I have bosses I feel that way about. I find myself doing things better by the book for their sake, not for mine. I'm like, I'm 20-something years in. I'm an old dog at this. And I know I'm good at what I do. I try to, and I love the students that I work with. So it's like, great. But like, I think of my fast and loose with the rules, and I stand on desks and I do crazy things in class, show whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be more careful with all of it for their sake, because I'll be darned if, like Ferris, I don't want to hit them with friendly fire. I don't want them.
I do the exact same thing.
Really?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Isn't it? I mean, but isn't that an interesting thing? When Vaz said that, it clicked for me. I'm like, maybe that's maturity. Maybe at 53, I'm tasting maturity, because I was related to Ferris, but I'm like, what you're doing is you're making some real problems for some good people who didn't ask for your nonsense.
Yeah.
And I feel myself saying, I'm going to do this by the book, because I don't want to make life harder for good people who are trying to do their job.
Yeah.
And I always used to pick on those people. These
squares,
prudes, these
squares.
Yeah, that's exactly it. These squares, these prudes. Look at you people. You don't have a life. You just want to, this is your whole life, this career. And I'm like, no, they're just trying to do their job well.
Well, that's the thing, though, is there's a spectrum of how square you can be, or how loose you can be. And then once you have a conscience and you're good at being loose, then you start to see where it might affect others, and then you start to rein it in. If you're good at playing that game, or if you don't get loose until you're so good, you know where to cut corners.
Right.
Because I got really good at cutting the corners, knowing where I can get away with, what I couldn't, even Fourth Amendment type stuff.
Sure.
I knew my way around it, so that I knew what I could do on searches, on arrests, on warrants, and
it makes you good at what you do.
it made me good at what I did. But I know that there were things that would make my higher ups like go, oh, we don't know if we feel comfortable with that. I'm like, that's fine. I'll do it this way. Does that make you feel better? They're like, yes. I go, okay, because I'm well versed in the rules. I can step back to where you're more comfortable.
That's right.
Because I don't want to, now that I'm in a position where I'm in a boss of other people, and they're like, oh, can we do that? I'm like, no. You're not there. You don't know. You're going to end up violating rights. Hold on. You got to do this a certain way.
And meanwhile, if all your commanding officers all the way up through could see you now sitting there on their perches looking, saying, he's learning.
Yeah.
Or like, we say that about our own kids. It's like, you wait till you have kids.
Yep.
I could see like Jimmy and Bet saying, you see it now, not with your kids, And I think it just comes with like I said, with my own experience. I'm like, at 53, I'm like, what is this feeling I'm feeling? Accountability, taking pride in a job well done.
But you're supposed to have that when you're young. You're supposed to be,
Yeah. That's right.
Shoot from the hip.
And it's part of the journey, right?
Build your accountability, because you don't have any to begin with.
It
comes over time.
That's right.
So what is the phrase? What was the famous line from Ferris Bueller? It's like, life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
If you got to stop and, I don't know.
What is it?
I
haven't
this is
seen
like
it
a
in a
monster.
long
I
time.
literally have T-shirts.
But to me, it took on a new meaning when I looked at this from like an ethical question point of view. And to me, it wasn't like, stop and smell the roses type of thing. It was more like, hey, you got to see how your actions affect everything around you type of thing.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
There it is.
Yeah. So, at first, to me, it felt like a feel-good message. Like, hey, stop and realize how good life is. But when I put on these lenses of, okay, well, is this about responsibility then? And with this question, it's kind of like, well, you're just doing what you want to do. you got to be able to look and see
that low-key
what its effects are
Agent of
on
Chaos
everyone.
is like...
So, like, there's multiple
right.
times throughout the movie where people are missing things, right? So the biggest one I remember is like they're when the car is like going backwards or whatever and goes out the off
Back
the
of the house.
yeah. And so to me, like, because there's characters like not noticing that it's happening, and of course it was because they fooled around with it, and the car.
It's not on a real jack. It's like on a just like one bipod holding it up. And like,
But
okay.
I feel like that's like just one example, but there's others throughout the movie where they just don't take into account what their actions, like what effects they have. So so like I said, so when I put that question on this idea of responsibility
that's
versus
an interesting lens on it. Not that I agree with it 100%, because I do feel like Ferris being fun and wanting to get his friend, who is clearly like depressed and is not wanting to get out. He's like, hey, we're going to do wild stuff and you're coming with me regardless, to get him out of his shell.
Yeah.
I'm just glad the friend didn't kill himself after.
Honest to goodness, in my head, I'm like, this is a hero episode right here.
And the friend was like, you know what? Screw it. You know what? My dad loves that thing more than me, and now he's just gonna have to deal with it. Good he got to that point. But Ferris is. He's Aladdin. He's slick enough to steal everything and not get caught, but the people in his wake kind of have to carry it. But are they better off for taking a look around at life once in a while?
It's a
It
balance,
is a dilemma.
right?
It is. It is a balance.
And it's in itself is another ethical question to me, is because that wasn't his intention. His intention was purely me. I'm going to have fun.
That's right.
And I'm not going to have fun alone. I'm going to take my buddy. And he's depressed. I'll use that as my excuse for bringing him with me. Yeah. I'm trying to cheer him up. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's a shame that his dad has this great car and never leaves the garage.
Right. Yeah. So it's like this guy.
This car wants to go out.
So even if good things happen, or if you could see it that way, as people get a new lens on life after he does these things. But it's also, that's not what he was doing, though. That's not his intention. So, like I said, more questions, though. I said, some questions lead into other questions, bigger questions, within a single movie.
Super interesting stuff. And it's really cool how you drop a topic out and it just expands. Mm-hmm. Every single topic here just ethical? Expands and expands and expands. And I feel like a common, maybe a possible factor is balance with any of it. With any of this stuff is like, yes, there's this and yes, there's this. But I think as the audience, one of the best things you can get out of a film is it lets you look at both a little bit. And then in the final analysis, like, maybe it's a little bit of balance there. Maybe it's a little bit of...
Here's one for you then.
Okay.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. Now, what do you get when you get Luke? You get a little balance of both. He's dressed up like a Sith, but he's got the green lightsaber. He's fighting Darth Vader. To me, that was the balance right there. Mm-hmm. That's not your dogma of whatever is right didn't work out for you because Order 66 came about. And then the Sith Lords, they just focus on the hate and the pure emotion. So where's the middle ground? We got Luke. Mm-hmm. So that's my little offshoot.
That's yummy, though. Oh, no, that might be the yummiest morsel of all.
That is a great example right there.
Mm-hmm. So the last one I'll bring up for all of us is Oppenheimer. We could spend a full episode on Oppenheimer. We could probably spend full episodes on each of these movies. But for Oppenheimer, just the ethical question portion of it, I think is pretty cool. I mean, not cool, but interesting.
Well, I mean, I did that about twice in the last week, teaching about Nazi Germany. Like, really, I'm really excited about this. This is my favorite thing to teach. And then one kid looked at me, really? I'm like, my bad. It's implied that you know what I mean there. But she looked at me right away. She's like, really? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting fired today. But I'm like Gilligan. But Skipper. But Skipper.
I have a final solution for this problem.
Oh, here we go.
So Oppenheimer, another one I think filled with ethical question after ethical question. And I pointed out to these guys, because I watched it for the first time last week. And so many things to break down. I want to watch again. The 3 hours is a little daunting, though. But I noticed that it seemed like, to me, it was odd that it was exactly 3 hours. So I looked into kind of that symbolism a little bit. And, you got the Trinity test. And so as I'm thinking about it, I look at the runtime, and where I was currently at when I had these thoughts was at the 2 hour mark. And they had just done the whole, like the bomb actually went off, right? So I was like, okay, I'll have to rewind and see what happened at the 1 hour mark. But if they are splitting this up, that each hour is something, then the last hour ought to be the fallout from this bomb going off. And then, it ends up being that way. So I rewound, after I finished, I rewound to the first hour. And at the hour mark is when they are arriving to Los Alamos. And so that's when they start to make the bomb, So then it became, okay, so the first hour is the preparation, second hour is the execution, third hour is the fallout. And so I watched that movie in preparation for this ethical question, because even without seeing it, you can see how, again, we're talking about save one life to save many. In this case, it's sacrifice. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I said save. It's sacrifice one life to save many, but in this case, it's sacrifice millions of lives to save billions of lives. And, that right there is already an ethical question. And so I put on my ethical questions glasses. Each section had even multiple questions. And I feel like the first one had to do a lot with like family, and how much of it do you sacrifice for your beliefs, for your work. And so you saw that with his own failed relationship with, can't remember her name in the movie, but Florence Pugh's character. That's how you pronounce her name, right? Mm-hmm. Pugh?
Yeah.
But you saw his failed romance with her, and then you kind of see how unstable his relationships, his friendships even, were with some people because of his own beliefs or his own work. So, like, he tried to kill his one professor, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second portion, you kind of see, what the cost of your love for country is, or the work-life balance there, because I can't remember when it was, but when he had his baby, it was, here, you guys have to raise him, because we're not, right now, we're basically terrible parents. Mm-hmm. We're not cut out for this right now. So you raise him. I'm going to go work on this thing, and we'll come back. Mm-hmm. Like right there.
What a huge ethical question there.
Yeah. And that what I noticed too is the cries of the baby seemed pretty constant, but to me it was a lot of neglect. So whenever the Oppenheimer is just neglecting his family, it seems like, and you hear the baby constantly cry, and instead of caring for it, it's passing it off so he can continue to work. And I mean, even us today, we might be able to relate to that a little bit of, times that you may get too involved with something to neglect what should also be important in your life, And then I feel like, well, the big one, of course, is you building of this bomb. Mm-hmm. And to me, it really stuck out when they started cheering when the test went off correctly, like the bomb went off, and everyone's cheering. And to me, it was a very strong scene because I was so juxtaposed to that. Because to me, I'm like, well, you do know what has to happen next here, right? Like, yes, you succeed in what you set out to do, but your next step is to kill millions of people and a good percentage of those people are going to be innocent people that are just living their lives in their home country. And then in the last bit of the movie, I feel like you had a lot of ethical questions on politics and personal vendetta when you had Robert Downey Jr.'s character going after Oppenheimer and how he could break him down and kind of get his revenge on him. And then you find out, at the end, like he based it all on perception. He assumed that Oppenheimer turned Einstein against him, and what's his face with him points out, like, you don't even know what he said.
Yeah.
So I thought the whole movie had just so many questions about morality and how fluid it can be, I guess, depending on whose perspective we're on. Because obviously, to me, it wasn't exactly a historical movie, because if you're historical, you're also presenting how this bomb affected the other side. But we're only watching this thing through the American lens, through Oppenheimer's lens and perspective.
That was cool. They showed just a tiny bit of like the race between the other side, trying to get the technology and trying to get the scientists.
Race as in trying to get it first, right?
Yeah. One thing that I thought was cool too is that it's like I said, it's my top three, one of my top three movies. Not just influences, but just I love the movie. 18 times now. I've watched it once since we've talked. It was 17. So 17 times 3, 18 times 3. That's how many hours of my life. Just because I find it really entertaining, and I find the performances amazing. So that's cool right there. And then Nolan, I thought he's at his best in this. So it's like, this is everything that I like about movies. The strap. And then, my Peaky Blinder guy, and Emily Blunt, who I think this is her best role. I think she's amazing in it. The one scene when the Inquisitor is now starting in on her, and she's just had it. She's had it with her husband. She's had it with this whole thing, but she knows even more than being ticked at her husband, and even more than knowing what a kind of a selfish, the role that he's taking selfishly. She's had it with this guy, and she's going to put him in his place. And I just thought that acting was great. And I know where I was going with that, but it's just really, 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 really good.
Tin Man, have you seen it or no?
I've only seen Pete's parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing. I assume the big ethical question is whether to blow everybody up.
They can just hear me talk for the last 15 minutes.
Or even like...
No, from the clips I watched. That's what I took from it.
Oh.
I think the movie builds it so much of like, what are you doing? You're entertaining this idea. And I think it comes to the crux with Matt Damon's character saying, go over those odds again for me, will you? He's like, well, what number would you be comfortable with? He goes, 0. Zero chance.
Oh, I seen that clip where he's like, oh, it might just set the whole sky on fire. Yeah. It's like, well, it's a very, very small percentage.
Near 0.
Near 0.
He goes, what would make you more comfortable? He goes, 0.
For Christopher Nolan, I think it was quite a departure from what he usually does in terms of like almost metaphorical storytelling. Like you had the one scene. I remember you pointed out before we watched it, there's a sex scene that seems to take place right in the middle of the interrogation or whatever it is, the hearing. Well, it's not a hearing. They said it's not a hearing.
Right.
the questioning, and Emily Blunt's character is like watching it happen. And so obviously they're not actually having sex in the room,
right?
But that's all that Emily Blunt can see. And to your point, she's just angry with Oppenheimer about his past with this woman and the implications of him knowing and about her death or whatever. And well, you saw her, huh? And there's other times where it's metaphorical storytelling to let you know how these characters feel or their mindset. So another one was when he goes to I guess it's a gymnasium, but after the bomb was successful in testing, oh no, I think it went off too. But he gives the speech in front of the people in the little gymnasium place.
There, yeah.
And like the people's faces start melting off, and they're either crying or they're cheering. You can't tell. Again, bringing up the ethical question of, is that a good thing or a bad thing that you can create this weapon of mass destruction? And so obviously these people's faces aren't melting off as he's walking around, but that's the feeling that you get that from that, the visceral reaction, like that's what's being told. But anyways, we'll move on because we stopped talking about ethical questions on that movie. Like I said, we could spend a full episode on that. But who wants to go first on the movie that they want to talk about and that ethical question?
I'll go.
Okay, let's hear it.
I picked Schindler's List. And,
I have seen Schindler's List.
Cool. So, like, the idea of Oscar Schindler.
Good for you. Let me talk.
So, like, okay, so, Oscar Schindler, Nazi, industrious, profiteer, if I could call him what he is. Responsible for saving generations of Jews from the Holocaust. That's one side of the story. The other side is the profiteer part of exploiting the Holocaust, exploiting the political climate, exploiting the Nazi Party, and the hatred of the Jews. And you couldn't be more marginalized than to be put into these cattle rooms and executed. So saving these Jews and creating an industry that made him a ton of money, made him very wealthy. And knowing exactly what he was doing, greasing the skids, cooking the books with the German officers, high command, so that he could build this business. But knowing that the powerhouse of the business was going to be Jewish labor and intelligence and industriousness. He was going to take a closed factory and use this cheap labor to make huge profit. And he did. And so you get the push and pull of the ethics here in that you have this scumbag who's taking a horrible situation and exploiting it, and then sees the light, sees them in a different light. That's what makes a good movie. That makes a good story. It makes for good heroes in my book too. The redemption, that history paints it a lot of ways, but the movie paints it that he notices a couple things, that he sees them as people. He sees them as human, as Jews, when the Nazi Party has done everything they could to not let you see them as human. And him being a member of the Nazi Party sees this, and it affects everything he does. In fact, it costs him everything. Every cent he's got, every possession he's got. There's a part in the movie when Stern, his business manager, who's a Jew, it's Jacques Stern, tells him, "Do you have any money anywhere?" And he says, "No." He goes, "Nothing hidden?" He goes, "Why, are we out of business? I suspect we'll be out of business soon." He goes, "Yes." He said, "We could make ammunition that works." And you see the change of heart by Schindler when he says, "If we produce one shell that works, you're fired." So they're selling shells to the German military, and he doesn't want them used for killing anybody. Yeah. That's how far he's gone. So to me, the ethical question is, Oscar Schindler, good or bad? And it paints him both ways. And at the end, it kind of certainly does paint him as a hero, because Stern turns to him and he says, "Because of this list, we have generations." And then him crying at the car saying, "I could have gotten more. This pin, that's 2. 1 at least. This car, that's 10, 12. That's more." Realizing these are people, these are souls, these are precious human beings. And it just crushes him. He's just incapacitated, and they hold him up. They make a ring for him, and they send him off with. And then they finally take you wear these clothes. give us your clothes here, change into these. Take this book, take these journals here to show the good that you've done here. And I picked that movie because it shows you the both sides of it. Ultimately, he remembered as a hero. But if history still remembers him well, you remember that he got into this whole gig to make a lot of money exploiting on the back of this Holocaust. So there's more ethical questions in there, right? I mean, huge ethical questions that aren't hard to connect with the political fascism and things like that, big questions like that. But the one I look at is specifically Oskar Schindler and his question of his ethics. He ends up doing good. He wouldn't have had the resources to do as much good as he had he not been such a crook.
Mm-hmm.
So
a robber baron.
I try to kind of relate this. I know you said specifically for Schindler, but I also see it as kind of a representation of like corporation. If you knew the way the corporation was doing work was exploiting its workers, but it also creates a boost for the economy and provides work, then should you still support this big company? So I feel like it's kind of similar to that question.
Yeah,
in terms of,
that's a good.
Because is Schindler, is he just because if he wasn't there, these Jewish people would have just died sooner then.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's there, they do end up living. So I feel like when you present him at first, and his whole thing was to exploit the work, I feel like it's quickly dispelled when you see how different he is from the other members of the Nazi Party. So, forget his name in the movie, but Ralph Fiennes.
Eamon Guth.
Eamon, yep. And you see how because I feel like they both still treat people like numbers. So Schindler's like, I could have saved this many. I could have saved 1, 5, 10. Those are still numbers. And just like a corporation, people are just numbers. We have this many workers. We have this much product. We have this much profit. And in this case, I think they're still just numbers. So Oskar is saying, I could save this many, even though it's in a much better light, obviously. But Eamon's kind of, he's got his gun, the famous, he's stretching with his gun and just kind of picking people off.
Yeah.
Because they're not people to him.
They're not people.
So I feel like if you're going to ask me if Schindler is good or bad, I'd say he's being used for good. I feel like is how I'd answer that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Good talk.
And we see what side Tin Man's on.
Being used for good, I swear.
Man, it's good. I really, plus it's just an enjoyable movie. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Some people say it's the hardest movie to watch. You know.
Tin Man, what were your answers to this ethical question of is Oskar Schindler good or bad?
I think he's good. I like what you said, like he's being used for good, but he needed, I don't know, like people are put where they are for a reason. I feel like, and that's where he needed to be. He needed to be that person for a reason. He needed to be, I don't know if it's because of his business ethics, where they didn't look at him for the longest time because of how shrewd he was. But he had to be who he was, where he was for that purpose.
He was masterful at what he was doing at a time and in a place when no one else could. In fact, he tried to get dozens of other businessmen to move finances around to get people out, knowing when it was coming down, when it was ending.
Yeah,
he raised the beacon, and no one else answered.
Yeah,
and he knew at great cost to himself. It's heroic. He was used in a heroic way. He made some real decisions at great risk to him and his family. Where in a climate where you were put equally with them, if you were found to be sympathizing with
Yeah,
them.
that is like the highest level of against the current you could possibly be.
And he wouldn't have done that.
Entire society's propaganda, the military, everything is telling you to go this way, and you're fighting against everything there is in the current in order to
And
do
his
what you
passion
think
to
is
be
right.
rich, what got him to be the crook,
Yeah.
I love he even really liked just before he did a heel turn. He was celebrating that Goth Eamon was a good guy. You know, he's a crook. He's a lovable crook. If war does the brings out the worst in people, only the bad, never the good. You know, his lines there. If he were outside of war, he'd be a good guy. You know, and they're like, they're saying what he did. The one question, he killed the one here and killed this one here, and for fun, he didn't need to. And he goes, "What do you want me to do about it?" Schindler was just like, you could see that conflict going on inside of him.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do about it? And then the girl getting her mom and dad in there. He's, "What do you think this is?" They go, "You're gonna, how much trouble, what happens to me." He's pretty much saying that.
Yeah. Yep.
It just.
I think also for Spielberg, I feel like it's deals with the ethics of I don't want to say forgiveness, but so he's doing this movie based on Schindler and kind of presenting him as a hero. And I can't imagine the difficulty.
Oh yeah.
In with his history, his ancestry, and all that, making a story where your main hero is of the Nazi Party.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine the ethical dilemma that he had with throughout the production of this, of lifting up this character to the status that he was, instead of having, cinematic revenge like Inglourious Bastards, but instead choosing the higher road and uplifting and saying, hey, there is good out there. Even from these people, there is good. And to me, that was when he has those lines from, I can't pronounce it, Ishtak?
Yeah, it's Jack Stern.
Yeah. Where he says, because of you, we have generations. And I feel like it's a little bit of him, it seems like a little bit of him talking through, where it's, let's focus on the good that's happened rather than the bad. Mm-hmm. And so to go with your argument, is Schindler good or bad? Well, let's focus on the good here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thought.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. And I think, thanks for the thoughtful stuff on that, guys. You pick these movies whenever we have these overall chapter views, and you pick your movie when it's something that both people have seen. That's always cool too. But when people have insightful things like you guys have said about it, it makes me feel like, I feel good about feeling so strongly about that movie, because there's a million lessons in it that we can all learn, and history that you want to repeat, that you don't want to repeat.
Right.
You want heroes to always reveal themselves in those times, and you want to remember how things happen so you don't repeat them again.
Tin Man, what movie are you presenting?
I went with 2007. It's a movie called Gone Baby Gone. It's a story of a private investigator who gets hired by the family of a abducted 4-year-old. She disappears. They call the cops in, and the family on the side kind of hires this private detective to investigate further into the disappearance of the daughter. You find out that during the investigation that the mom is a drug addict, dirtbag of a mom. It's very much like Haley.
Florida Project reference.
Just dumping on the Florida Project mom. So spoiler alert, gets the end. There is a little bit of a red herring and some chase involved. A father who is killed and investigation that goes cold. But what you end up finding out is that the head of the police had the daughter removed quietly and created this whole scenario that would get everyone off the scent and wrap everything up looking nicely. But the investigator ended up finding out that the head of the police ended up taking the child himself and was raising her like happy, healthy, in a good home upstate away from the city. And instead of leaving it as is, he decided to give the mom that, whatever little bit of humanity that mom must have showed him, gave him the unction to go and finish his task, what he was hired to do, and found the mom arresting the officer who took the child in, giving the child back to the mom, and in the end, she's going out to party. You mind watching the kid because there's nobody here watching the kid, and he ends up like sitting on the couch with the kid who he had saved from a good home. Well, the mom is going out, still paying little attention to her, calling the child's like favorite toy by the wrong name. It's like, oh, okay, she's still a borderline absentee, kind of a garbage mom. What did I do? So there's the ethical dilemma of, do you follow through with what is right and go find the abducted child and bring her back? You do what you're, if the child's well-being is the highest calling, is it better if you just let it be? He's a private investigator. It's not the same as a law enforcement. It's different. He does have a little more leeway, but even in the relationship that he has, his partner in the business is his girlfriend, who she's like, if you go and you find this girl and she's at the home that she's at, like if you go and tell people where this child is, I can't be with you. And she ends up leaving him because of it. But I thought it was a great one, because that's like right in the middle of what would you do in this situation? You're getting hired to do what's right. The little bit of humanity that mom showed you kind of gave him just enough to not really look back. I'm finding this kid regardless and giving it back to mom. It might have blinded him, maybe to more who she really is. Or even they have an option that I came up with. If anyone's out there seeing the movie, I was like, listen, you could tell the grandma, because the grandma was the one who hired him in the first place. It wasn't the mom. She had no money. It was the grandma. Right? And I was like, tell the grandma if she wants to leave the child where it is, that could be on her. And I've had a few different ethical situations that I've had to deal with at work. I have two examples if you guys even wanted to hear them, but they came to mind. I love it. One of them was I was working Lewiston. I'm on the res, and I'm talking to people because I just go and visit. I used to just visit people on the res until I got a call. And a truck goes down Upper Mountain Road doing like 80 miles an hour. And anyone who knows anyone, if I'm a police officer and I'm on the res, I usually don't like getting involved.
Yeah, right.
Hey, if you guys need me, call me. But if not, I'm not out here stopping cars and causing a ruckus. That truck ends up going up Upper Mountain Road and causing an accident, hitting one of our nation members who was pregnant. Everyone was fine. Everyone was safe. They survived, no issues. But it really kind of rung my bell after that, being like, do I have to be the a-hole out here who people are like, hey, what are you doing out here, police, acting like a police on your own people, when if I don't do anything and someone really gets hurt because I decided to, be the good guy.
Yeah. That's tough.
That was one. That was one right off the bat. That was one first couple months in, and I'm like, okay, so it's going to be complicated.
Isn't that from Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire chooses not to stop the
guy, and it kills his dad.
Yeah. I knew you stole that from somewhere.
That's a real story. It's a real life story.
Oh man,
that's one that came to mind right off the bat. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be a little more complicated than I thought. I can't just play it one way. I'm going to have to navigate this, and I've had a few since. But that's what that reminded me of, though, because there is times at work where I'm like, okay, do I do what I And what helps is being a Christian. So I'm never going to be in a situation where, like, this guy's a dirtbag. He needs to go away. Plant some drugs on him.
Yeah.
No, not.
Right.
No, I feel like it's easier being a Christian because I can say, if God wants them caught, they'll get caught. If it's to them, I can kind of put that out there. And it's not on my shoulders whether or not the justice system does their part. I do the best I can in the role that I got. And
That's
then
it.
I don't have to worry about anything else. So
I like a movie like that though because it pushes those buttons on purpose.
Oh yeah, because my wife was absolutely just like, nope, leave that kid there. And I'm like, I don't know if I could leave that kid there.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's because how you mentioned a lot of the movies we watch, you just see them, but you don't watch them. You just see them in the background they're on. You see them and it's on direct TV, so you see it here, you watch a little bit here. There. That's how I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
So I've never sat down and.
It's on Pluto right now for free.
No, I like that. Freeze the price for me.
Shout out to Pluto.
Shout out to Pluto TV.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think about the way they present this too, and it was kind of like, I feel like there's definitely a stance though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it was, I feel like you don't see enough, but maybe not in the same way that you think though. Because I don't think they, and this is on purpose, but I don't think they showed enough of the good life that she could have had with Morgan Freeman's character.
Right.
But I also don't think they showed enough of the girl herself of what she wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
What she felt more strongly connected to. Because if you bring in, she wants to be with her mom, then I feel like that alters it.
Yeah,
because
it could change. Change the.
Here she is.
Oh yeah, it would make the question easier. That they're like, no, you don't get to see that part.
Right, exactly.
We're
keeping our stance right here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you get influenced by that. I'm asking you a question: is this right or wrong?
And there's enough they built up with Casey Affleck's character, and then them hunting down another child kidnapping murderer where he kills him,
which brings up another one.
Yeah,
because the other people knew
right.
that was wrong, or at least Morgan Freeman knew that wasn't the guy.
Yeah,
but let him die so that he could take care of this girl.
Right.
So I remember I said you bring up ethical questions, and they bring up others, and they get a little bit broader too, because instead of should he let Morgan Freeman's character take the girl, or should he give the girl back to her mom, becomes, should you do the right thing or should you do the just thing?
Yeah.
So the questions get broader as you start to break it down.
Yep. And the film keeps it very ambiguous. It keeps it balanced on what you should or shouldn't do, or what he couldn't, And I like that his character made that choice, because I feel like the majority of people would leave the kid. Mm-hmm. But I think he's got to make the choice and then live with it. Because if he did nothing, he could just, it's nothing. It is what it is. I did my job. I found the kid, whatever. But him following through with it and then taking it, having the officers arrested, like they're suffering the punishment, thinking they did what's best by supposedly saving this kid from an awful home. And then him having to kind of hold the weight of that, and then kind of see how the family dynamic hasn't changed much, like he was hoping it would. And it's a lot of weight he's got to kind of bear, and that's how it ends.
I feel like I mean, to me, that leads into another ethical dilemma, though, of like, where's the line on your intervention for things like that? Where do you say, that's none of my business, I'm staying out of it?
Yeah.
Because in that one, he crosses the line, and what he ends up with is having to take care of this kid for this woman.
Yeah.
And then losing his own
relationship.
Yeah.
In the process. Yeah.
So, because I mean, I'll see that a lot in my profession with nursing, is where do you draw the line of, well, do you care for these people? If you did, you'd work 24/7. But when is it a job? When is it caring for other people? And where's that line where how far do you go to, quote, take care of these people?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm faced with that in teaching too. It's like you want to be a mentor, you want to be an availability you want to be a blessing to them, but you're like, at some point, I have my life and I have to go home. I have to shut this off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, movies that do that to you, they hit you in a way that make you feel that real tension. That movie right there, I don't know if I'd have some movies I have a hard time with. When it's some things when it comes to like kids and stuff like that, it's a touchy thing. Some movies, you feel it a little bit more. What movie was I thinking about? There was a movie I was thinking about that was, as you were talking, that it made me think. When I lose it, it's gone. So there's no reason in trying to pursue it. I lost it. But there was a movie that came up that made me think very similar, made me feel very similarly.
You'd probably feel that way with Prisoners then.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the whole movie is a father trying to get his abducted child back. And Jake Gyllenhaal, like we kind of discussed, is he's a detective, but again, where's the line here? Are you helping me or not? Because you're certainly not doing it right now when you're off duty. Maybe I take matters in my own hands and try to get some results. And
I see.
So, yeah, I think it's still worth a watch, but be prepared. You will feel some ways if you feel some ways already.
Definitely do.
I was worried the first time I watched Gone Baby Gone, because I'm like, if the kid's dead, I'm not gonna really enjoy that. I'm like, man, this is gonna be tough getting through the end of this movie. And then when they're spoilers out there, but when it comes to that, she's not dead, but there's actually a whole twisted story to how she's still around. Like, wait a minute. Prisoners is cool. Prisoners is definitely a wild ride.
Felt that way at the end of The Vanishing, when you're like, wait a minute, you tell me she's not around anymore? We went on this whole journey to find out. Was it The Vanishing? Was it Sandra? I don't think it was Sandra Bullock in it, right?
I don't know.
I know it was Jeff Bridges. Was Kiefer Sutherland. End of the movie ends up with a lighter.
I haven't seen that one.
I have
not seen that one.
I have the original one. You're talking about like again, spoiler alert, The Vanishing. We're gonna talk about the ending of it.
Yeah,
but it's when he's in the coffin. Yeah, yep.
And then because he promised he'd show what happened. I promised I'll tell you what happened. I promised I'll show you what happened to her, and he does. That panic moment at the end. I'm like, man, if I knew that, I wouldn't have watched this stupid movie.
Sandra Bullock is in it.
Yeah.
It's based on another foreign movie. I kind of feel like it's from the same country that Funny Games is from, like Sweden, maybe. I don't know.
Is it okay?
So I'll present mine then.
Yes.
I'm on a little bit of a lighter note than the two of you.
All right.
I got Cabin in the Woods.
Hey.
Ooh.
That's a favorite.
That is
can I call that a favorite?
That is a good time.
It's a wild, fun ride, but does ask a couple ethical questions about us, about in storyline, in the narrative. It does ask about sacrificing one to save many, to save the world. So they're trying to sacrifice this virgin to save humanity. From these ancient gods or something. But what it's doing is it's...
if anyone's ever seen Cabin in the Woods out there, that's a...
Well, I'm assuming you have.
Spoilers.
Because I'm not even going to talk about the actual plot or the story of it.
Or Merman.
So what it does is it encourages the audience to reflect on their own consumption of horror and I guess just kind of think of the ethical implication of that. So there's a scene where the people that are behind this, and again, I'm talking about this movie as if you've seen it because I'm using specific examples from it. But the people that are behind this whole thing, with they're in the underground or whatever. They got screens. They're literally watching this screen, eating like popcorn, watching, this character get stalked and killed. And the camera is sitting behind these people as if it's a unique way of breaking the fourth wall, because it's the camera pretending to be you watching this movie or this scenario of this person being stalked and
never thought of
killed
that.
brutally.
I did.
It was, to me, it was very obvious. So it was like you see people. I swear they're eating popcorn. At least that's the way I'm remembering it. They're eating popcorn, watching this screen of violence happen, and so they do little things like that throughout the movie, and you point out the board of different ways that these people can die. And they're taking bets on it, and they're cheering when it happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at us like, oh, am I cheering for these angry trees? Am I cheering for the merman to brutally kill somebody? Like, so is this us? Like, is this
right?
Is this how heartless we seem watching a horror movie? Like a gory movie, like we just want to see bloodshed and all that, and so it seems to poke fun at both the horror genre and the audience that it caters to. But I've always had I guess this I mentioned it earlier with Funny Games, where it was like, yeah, you're trying to be a satire of horror, but to me it was like, and this probably speaks for most satires, but it was like you only have this platform because you are also doing it very well. So the Cabin in the Woods itself like starts off as like a solid, like, scary movie where they get attacked while in the woods, and tension is built and all that. And so it's still ironic to me that you can only say these things because you are one of those things. So but other ways that it presents this is through control. So they're like, okay, time to turn on the pheromones or whatever, so that they get aroused and they start doing it in the bushes or whatever. Mm-hmm. So then that's when they get attacked, right? So it's like catering to the expectations of your horror fans. Like, okay, we need gratuitous sex, we need this gory thing right here, we need this to happen, and it's all coming from the people behind the scenes that are making it happen. So to me, it was a very lopsided ethical dilemma, because it's definitely taking us. It's not presenting you two sides. It's presenting you one side, trying to say, hey, maybe tone it down a little bit. Yeah. But do you get, because you guys have seen it, right? Mm-hmm. What were your reactions to it? Like, did you get any of that, or was it mostly just, oh, here's a crazy movie about monsters and all that?
No, I got the ethics of the sacrifice of, that was I didn't see it at first until it was revealed, obviously. But when I saw the control of it, I saw that there was almost this side of a gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like it was seeking out to get you to acknowledge it, almost like, all right, now I want to force you to realize that you consume this, not just for the entertainment value. You consume it. There's a sickness about you, because it shows them, Bradley Whitford and the other characters, kind of like, this is we're presenting to you that they must be sacrificed, that these ancient gods or whatever, these Titan type gods, they must be appeased, and this is the only way to do it. And there's these little etchings on the wall and stuff. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is human sacrifice. It goes back to old, like, ancient ancient ideas of, and like ethical question. Yeah, I think everybody in that control room, they're all on board with it. In fact, it's their job to make sure this goes as planned. Otherwise, the fate of humanity is at stake. So, like, as I'm someone that's watching it, I'm like, I feel like the filmmaker like showed you, here's how gross you are. This is, you're okay with this because you have to be okay with this because you have to be okay with them being okay with this because you're watching it and you're consuming it too. And I'm like, I guess so. Even though I'm not, you know what I mean?
You're actually very dark and twisted.
Yeah. But I mean, like, who was the one character you said in the one movie that he wouldn't? Not Rorschach, and from Watchmen, who wouldn't. I'm not killing one person. I'm not going to sacrifice one person for the good of everybody. That person deserves to live too. I'm not gonna. That's how I feel. That's how I feel in real life. I'm like, well, if that's the way it has to go. And then you look at the whole redemption story of my belief system. It's like one person did have to go. Yeah. the most blameless, the only blameless, and the most blameless, had to go, and without that, doomed.
Yeah,
doomed.
I didn't pick up on it at all. I was just like, this seems like a run-of-the-mill horror movie. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? It had such a cool twist to it. And I was just here for the ride.
And you remember...
I remember thinking all the monsters and stuff were like haunting when they started to break out.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone started to escape. Like the guy smoking weed was kind of like, what was he, like immune to the chemicals being put out because he was just getting high?
Yeah.
But like him getting into the control area and then them kind of trying to escape. And I was like, this took a twist. This is wild. I didn't look any deeper than that.
Well, yeah.
I was here for the ride. I was just here for the ride.
Did we watch? I mean, it was talked about a long, long, long time. And then I think did we watch it at my house?
Did we watch it at your house?
I know we did at least once.
Okay.
But like there was another time that we watched it, and I remember Jeff was like, "You gotta watch this. You gotta watch this." I know Vaz was like, "Well, I have it."
I think because we tried to, because we paused it to try to read all the board names because we wanted to see all the monsters on the board.
Yeah. Who they all were, and
I'm looking at them now. It's kind of funny.
And I think it even asks you at the end, it was like, should a society like this even be allowed to move forward? Because you had the, sacrifice didn't go through, so you get the hand come up from the ground and squash everything, implying that, Earth,
the apocalypse just destroyed everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was to me, very on the nose, like, oh, should you guys even be allowed to live if this is the audience that we cater to,
Mm-hmm. Cool choice.
That was a fun ride. I like that one.
I'm glad to end on that.
So, like I said, not there's no double-sided debate here for that one. It was just kind of like, well, here's my rhetorical ethical question for you.
Great cast, though. That's what crazy part. Like the people that played the role. I don't know, the one guy, the one dad from Step Brothers. He was one guy in there, and then Bradley Whitford. So it's like you got these pretty powerful, pretty good actors.
Thor was like the handsome guy.
Yes.
Chris Hemsworth was in it.
Yep.
The one guy from was it Grey's Anatomy? Is that him?
Grey's Anatomy.
I might be wrong on that.
I don't know.
I don't watch the show.
It's just like all the things in here. You got mutants, wraiths, zombies, reptiles, clowns, witches, sexy witches, demons.
Of course.
Just my usual Friday night.
Zombie redneck torture family.
The incubus, the succubus, they're all there, Ray.
Dismemberment goblins.
Yeah, I looked up what incubus and succubus mean. I'm like, oh, I can't be using those words.
Right? Isn't that true?
All right, so our movie for this chapter, we're only doing one movie for ethical questions, comes from 1931. Again, we're going outside of the country. I think this is our last foreign film for the season, but it's M by Fritz Lang. M as in murder.
M as in Mancy.
M as in...
That's awesome.
Any Archer fans out there?
That's exactly.
Already, I apologize ahead of time. Again, how we pronounce these names. Because I'm not even sure I pronounced Fritz's name right. But that's how we did it.
1931.
31, I believe.
This is our oldest movie?
Ooh, it very well could be. You'll see how contemporary... I mean, if you haven't picked up on it by now, whatever. But you could see how contemporary a lot of issues are. Even when you bring them back from movies in the 30s, the 40s, the subject matter is still relevant today, and we're going to have a little touch of that, too.
Yep, little short synopsis.
Okay, hit us, Tin Man. We'll end with it.
Psychological thriller. When the police in a German city are unable to catch a child murderer, other criminals join in the manhunt.
Other criminals? No kidding.
As in mob. As in murder. As in muck duck.